privilege of attending Rotary functions when I was in the police field. And some Rotary organizations also given me a honorary membership so that I attend their weekly meetings in the coastal part of Karnataka. I always cherish those memories, the friendship that I made, that continues to be a lifelong friendship even now. And I also had the opportunity to see where governments cannot reach. I personally see Rotary can reach, especially the last mile problem. The last mile problem is a big problem for the governments, and Rotary always efficiently does it. So I take this opportunity to greet and wish all the eminent Rotarians who have assembled here for this great morning and also for a stimulating intellectual discussion throughout the day. I take this opportunity to pay my respects to the conference chair, Ramesh Veeraraghavan Ayya Avargal, and his better half for putting up this program together with close to 4,900 confirmed registration participants of Rotary District 3201. I also take this opportunity to pay my respects and compliments to the District Governor, Rotarian AKS Advocate N. Sundaravadivel Ayya, and his better half for being the governor and leading Rotary, the particular area under his responsibility, to glorious heights. I take the opportunity to pay my respects to the very indomitable Ravi Murugayya Avargal, Mannin Maindan, who is going to get an award today, and who has passionately, I know him for the last many years, who has passionately put his whole money, personal money, to create a song, a video song that is shot across India to inculcate the spirit of Bharatya among all of us. And Dr. Krishnan Swaminath, a very eminent doctor from UK, I know him for a long time now, who left everything, came back to Coimbatore, started the Idayangal Charitable Trust with a vigorousness that is not commonly seen among human beings. He dedicated his life completely to eliminating type 1 diabetes among children. And right now, his mission, he works on a mission more. So I'm very happy that you have recognized him, you have called him for this meeting. I pay my respects to PVC, Paramveer Chakra Awardee, Yogesh Yadav Ayya Avargal, and also stand with all of you in praying for the well-being of his son. I'm sure the Almighty will make sure he will recover fast in a matter of time. So today the topic that you have given to me is India and geopolitics. I'm not very sure whether morning is a good time to talk about geopolitics. That to the opening of the Rotary conference is a good time to talk about geopolitics. It only shows how geopolitics has become a very fascinating topic for all of us to understand where we are currently among the global community of nations and where we want to go in the next many years. I think it's a fascinating topic to talk. I'm equally sure that all of you will be delighted to join me to have a discussion about my reading of the world and where I think India would be in the next 25 years. Of course, I'm not going to talk politics here because this is not a political forum. And I respect the views and sentiments of all the friends who have gathered here, who might have different ideological underpinnings to their life and the way they make their electoral choice. If I am able to bracket geopolitics into three divisions, it is the gold, which determined for a long time how the world is governed. Then the American dollars, which is determining even now how the world is shaping up. Probably the next 20 years, it is going to be the chips and the silicon wafers that is going to determine how the world is going to shape up and rearrange itself. The dollar was a very important exchange value for a long time. It will continue to be for a long time. 58% of the world's reserve is held in dollars. Last month, the SWIFT payment, where the international banking transaction is done, 49.1% of the transaction across the international settlement happened in dollar. So dollar did not reach here by simply printing a dollar and they reached here, where 58% of the world trade reserve is held in dollars. Americans were able to reach here by a series of strategic maneuvering over the last 100 years that has primarily made US as an indomitable superpower that has made almost all the nations to depend on US. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's visit to US in the last 2 days, many of us were curiously watching Mr. Trump's statement and Mr. Modi's statement, what they were talking, and possibly how Indo-US relationship will shape up in the short period over the next 4 to 5 years. 1870 to 1920 was the first phase where the American dollars, the gold played a part. 1911, 1920, 1925, just before the American Depression, 1933, the US had a very fair share. They said 1 ounce, which is 28 grams of gold, is pegged to a dollar, which is 20.67, which is $20.67. If you take 28 ounces of gold, that will be equivalent to $20.67. That is what we call the dollar gold reserve. And any dollar you print, 40% of its value should be held in gold. So we all believed, okay, US as a global country has got a marking of a dollar to a gold. 1933, when the Great Recession in America started till 1939-40, Americans suspended the gold measure of value to a dollar. Even then the world waited. 1944, when 44 countries gathered in New Hampshire in a place called Bretton Woods, they created the international system of a monetary fund. They created the World Bank, in which the primary currency itself is dollar, because dollar is pegged to gold. So all of us never had a problem. We thought, okay, this is the world currency now. There is an IMF, there is a World Bank which is created in 1944, and dollar will be the underpinning value. And India, especially Coimbatore, has got a pride of place, because in 1944, pre-independence from our country, we sent 5 people to that conference, agreeing that India will also be a part. 3 Englishmen and 2 Indians. And 1 Indian happened to be a guy from Coimbatore, Shanmugam Shetty Ayya, who happened to be our first finance minister, also was part of the Bretton Woods conference. So no problem, it went on and on and on. Till 1971, when the system collapsed. Sorry, I'm taking 10 minutes to set a base to understand how geopolitics was for the last 100 years, so that we can make some assumptions next 25 years how it will be. 1971, this concept collapsed. Now, it's a very fair value, you know. Dollar, gold, 1 ounce, which is 28 gram of gold, is equivalent to $20.67. So all of us had a very fair belief that dollar as a currency is there because it is backed up by gold. 1971, when the model completely collapsed, when the US said no more gold reserve to dollar, suddenly we didn't know what to do. Because none of the countries could match America's might, even in 1971 at that point of time. Because by the time from dollar, we were slowly shifting towards petroleum. The newfound reserves, Middle East countries have found oil wealth in abundance. And they were exporting petrol. A lot of countries were importing petrol. And everybody wanted dollars, everybody wanted to print dollars. So Americans started recklessly printing dollars. They were printing dollars just like water. The American Federal Reserve became the preeminent global body in the world. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, all the big countries like Russia at that point of time, the OPEC nations, it was holding all its petrol, either by selling, getting dollars, or by buying petrol by buying dollars. So dollar became so powerful. Americans determined the geopolitics of the world by using dollar as a medium. For example, Saudi Arabia, when Mr. Trump took over now, he said, somebody asked him, which is the first country you want to go to the world as a US president? Normally, if it is in India, if it is Sri Lanka, we all have a certain pattern. We go to our friendly neighbor. We go to our country that is very closest allied to us. Do you know what did Trump say? Trump said, last time when he took over, Saudi Arabia agreed to purchase 450 billion worth of US goods. So I went to Saudi Arabia as my first country. If Saudi Arabia agrees to buy 500 billion worth of US goods, I will go to Saudi now. Immediately, promptly, the Saudi king called Mr. Trump and said, Trump, don't worry, we are going to invest $600 billion into US. So that is how dollar as a powerful medium, it shapes not only geopolitics, it also shapes how different countries deal with other countries in the world. So Mr. Trump's first foreign visit as American president is determined by which country is going to invest or buy American products at the American dollar value. So into this geopolitics, India as a country, we are observing, we are carefully watching, we are navigating how Boris should be positioned in the next 25 years. It did not stop there. Right from 1971, all the countries which had a lot of petroleum, once you export petroleum out, you get dollars. So that dollars, you got to invest in other parts of the world. For example, we all know Daimler Chrysler, Benz car. Many of you own a Daimler Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz. We all know it's a German company. But how many of you know the number one shareholder of the Daimler Chrysler, the Benz company, is the Kuwait Investment Corporation, which owns 9.7% of the Daimler Chrysler Corporation, because the money Kuwait is earning by selling petroleum, by getting that money, it has to invest in properties across the world. So though it could be a German company, but the petrol that is sold by a Middle East nation, that is traded in dollars, will decide in which country I am going to buy which company. We all know the Norwegian sovereign fund. Norway population is 55 lakh. So 5.5 million. I think it is smaller than your Rotary district. If I take 3201, if I take the population within the Rotary district 3201, I think the population would be more than 55 lakhs, sir. Because multiple districts. So Norway's population as a country is less than the Rotary district 3201. But the wealth fund they hold is $1.8 trillion is Norway's sovereign wealth fund. For example, India, we are holding $690 billion as foreign exchange reserve. Norway is holding $1.8 trillion. Why? Because Norway was able to find petrol in North Sea. The politicians were very intelligent. They said, we are a small country, Scandinavian country. Half the time we are in snow and cold. We need to generate revenue, keep this revenue safe for the next 20 generations. We don't have any right to spend this money now. Very carefully, each of the petroleum barrel they were selling from the North Sea, very carefully they started accumulating. Today it's worth 1.8 trillion. Now you might ask me, what is $1.8 trillion worth? Norway has invested in 70 countries in 6,500 properties. They've invested in companies, they've invested in the global supply chain, they've invested in the manufacturing of big companies, they've invested in rental properties in London and New York. That money which they generate from their investment in 70 countries, it goes back into Norwegian sovereign wealth fund. That gives 20% of Norway's budget. That is why Norway happens to be one of the richest countries in the world. We have to understand the geopolitics, how dollar as a medium, how petrol as a commodity, when they both combine together, it determines the world politics and geopolitics, not only for the last many years, but also for the next few decades as well. If I go one step further, Americans are very clever. You have my dollar, your assets are held in my dollar, your SWIFT transactions are done in my dollar, you better buy my products back into your country. That is why Iran and US is fighting now. But once they were so close allies, Americans used to, when Iran sell their oil out, Americans used to sell their fighter planes to Iran. Americans used to sell their fighter planes to Saudi. So America used to benefit in multiple ways because dollar is the world's currency. Oil is flowing out. People are generating so much money that is again capped in dollar. So I have my defense company, all the big companies in US, I have to sell fighter jets, I have to sell missiles. So better you buy my product because you are holding this and all. How do you break this? Till anybody thinks of breaking this, America is going to be the superpower of the world for many, many years to come. That is why Mr. Trump, immediately after he took over, he said two things day one. He said, anybody who has put a tariff on American product that is entering into US soil, I am going to put a counter tariff for your product entering into my soil. He said number one. This affects all countries. Straight away he said, Canada, Mexico, all my neighbors, I am going to put 25% tariff. For China, he has already put 10% tariff. Countries like India, he said, I am going to put tariff on you because my Harley Davidson motorbike is costly. My America Bourbon is costly. My California wine is costly in India. I am going to put tariff on. Just imagine. Second, he said, if anybody thinks about creating a parallel global currency, I am going to levy 100% tariff on those countries. So you all know the story is the Brazilian president, Mr. Lula. This year they are the BRICS country. He said a few months back that BRICS country together, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, together all five of us, we will create a BRICS currency. Just imagine China in one side, India in one side, Brazil in one side, Latin American power. All five of us will create a BRICS currency that will also be dealt along with dollars. Immediately Trump said, if any one of you thinking about creating a currency, even within the BRICS, because we contribute more to global trade as an organization, even within you, all BRICS country, I will put 100% levy. And he put it in his Truth Social. If anybody thinks about alternate to dollar, you should say hello to tariff, goodbye to dollars. He said it in his Truth Social. Now you have to understand the context. Where the gold reserve came in, the Bretton Woods conference in 1944, how carefully America as a nation, they made sure dollar became the preeminent global currency. Then came the case of oil boom in 1960s, 70s and 80s. Then came the American global superpower, the defense industry dominating. Then came the era after the subsequent partial collapse of WTO, the regional groupings trying to assert that might. This is the base I want to set before this August gathering, before I make my further comments. So in this era, India is operating. In this era, a powerful country like India, that is the fifth largest global economy in the world, worth about $4 trillion, we got to position our country in the next 25 years to emerge in the top two. This complication, trade war, turf war, tariff war, in this complication where dollar is the preeminent currency, in this complication where China is emerging in a big way, in this complication where the neighbors around Bharat, Pakistan, we have a problem. Bangladesh, there was a regime change recently. Maldives, we had a problem. Sri Lanka, there is a government change. If you look at all the neighbors of our country, we got to very carefully deal with them and make sure they are with us as friendly neighbors. You got to carefully deal with them. That is another problem. Then we have the global trade war that has started. Be it the South China Sea, where the global shipping line is becoming a problem. Be it the region around the Suez Canal, it's a problem. Because 58% of the global shipping is right now being affected by the Houthi rebels who want to shoot at any cargo terminal that is passing through that area. You got to carefully calibrate that. Then you have the biggest opportunity and problem, both in Africa, which holds critical minerals for the world's next phase of growth. Whatever the world is trying to do, we are entering into a phase of critical minerals that is going to decide how gold was, how dollars was. The critical minerals will decide the next 40 years where the world is going to go. And you all know for a fact, 70% of the world's critical minerals are controlled by China. Be it germanium, be it lithium. If you take all the top minerals, which is used for making chip, right from tungsten, China controls 70%. America is second country in the world which controls roughly about 20%. The rest of us, we are controlling 10%, all the countries in the world. So you got to carefully position yourself where you want to go. Now in this, geopolitics assumes very important dimension because as a voter or as a company guy or as any person you are in India, geopolitics will affect you personally. As a businessman, it will affect you. As a voting choice, it will affect you. Because next 50 years, we got to carefully position our country in the next 10 years so that we play a role in the next 50 years. Because I am taking America one side, China one side, and India one side. I am going to compare the last 70 years where each country was vis-a-vis the other country. US, 1931 depression, Bretton Woods Conference, creation of monetary fund, World Bank, trying to push dollar into a preeminent global currency, World War II, defense industry getting money, pushing in. After the defeat of Japan, Germany, US emerging as a tall global superpower. Then came the 50s and the 60s, which is the hippie and a lot of revolution that happened within US on civil rights movement. Then again a boom from 70 to 80 political instability, 90 stock market collapse. Again in US I'm talking. From 2000 onwards we are looking at a continuous boom of US for 24 years till now. Which means US has faced trouble. US decided which regime has to be in this. Iranian revolution, change of governments in Latin America, creation of euro as a currency in 2000, European economic community coming together so that Euro nation gets formed. US has survived every single thing. US has survived every single thing and still it continues to be the global superpower even after this many years. Look at China. Again, if you look at China, such a great, culturally significant nation, which the Mings and all the dynasties, at that point of time, very important country in the world. When Angus Madison says, around 1700, when 25% of the global GDP was dominated by India, and we also have to remember, 30% of global GDP was dominated by China in 1700. Such a big country. Culturally such a rich country, because they believe they operate between heaven and earth. China as a country, culturally they believe they are below heaven and above earth. That's how Chinese civilization is. Now China is reasserting now. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, don't wake up China. China should always sleep. If China wakes up, it's a danger to the world. Because such a big civilization dominating the world 1500 odd years, sleeping peacefully for 200 years. Mao Zedong came, fight between National Party and the Communist Party, 50s, great leap forward of Mao, cultural revolution, 1960s, importance given to industrial base, again a failed model, Deng Xiaoping coming in, bringing in reforms, then came the special economic zones of 1980-85, then we have seen the growth of China that is unrivaled in global human history. Not even Roman civilization in their biggest years have done what China has done in the last 40 years. Continuous sustained growth, lifting millions of people out of poverty. A country that is essentially rich poor after 1900 has come to occupy the second largest economy in the world. If US is at 34 trillion, China is at 17 trillion, we are at 4 trillion. If you look at China now, that is a country all set for greatness. That is a country, the base is set for global superpower. What Trump is essentially doing right now is delaying America's decline by a few decades. That is what he's doing. China is all set. They are having 70% of the world's critical minerals. They have entered chip. The recent DeepSeek R1 you must have seen. Now, China is our neighbor. I can take a mic, sit here and say, oh, China is great. I can take a mic and say US is great. But you cannot have your neighbor who shares your boundary with you, who cannot build a bigger house than you. Wherever we live, our fight is always with the neighbor. You got a Maruti, okay, I will get a Baleno. You got a Baleno, I will get a 7-seater. So you got a 7-seater, I'll go for a German car. You got a German car, I'll get a Tesla. So now it is BYD. So the fight is always, because we are always measured with our neighbors. So you build a 5-bedroom house, let me build a 7-bedroom with 3 floors. So whatever we say, China happens to be a neighbor. You cannot afford to have a powerful neighbor that is rising. Yesterday, Mr. Trump said, it's insane. America is a country we are investing $900 billion in defense. Insane, he says. Why should America, we invest $900 billion in defense every year? Now you should also carefully see what Trump said. He said, China is investing $450 billion in defense. $450 billion, our neighbor who shares a boundary with us, $450 billion every year China is putting. Advanced 5th generation aircraft. China is able to rival both Boeing and Airbus by building a commercial airliner. A country is able to build a commercial airline. Same country, when it has to attend the 1950, 51, 52 United Nations conference, China did not have a single airplane. They used to call Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Our Air India used to go to China, take the China's premier to United Nations, a country which was borrowing a plane for its premier to fly to United Nations. New York Assembly in 50s, early part of 50s, that country is able to build a passenger jet that is able to rival the Boeings and Airbus of the world. You have to understand in what context India's geopolitics is there, because your neighbors are becoming powerful. Then you have the China's Belt and Road Initiative. They're able to imagine something. They want to link China, they want to link Tibet, they want to link the Chinese occupied Kashmir, then they want to enter touching Afghanistan into Pakistan, then they want to come all the way to Balochistan, then they have to go to Iran. So the Belt and Road Initiative, China's dream, the Grand Karakoram Highway, 6-lane, 12-lane highway with all industrial belt connecting China to the Middle East. Now Modi ji said, okay, fine. If that is your problem, we are going to create India Middle East Economic Corridor. We will start from India, we will enter Middle East, we will get all the regional powers of that to us, and then our economic corridor will enter Europe. So it is always a chessboard game. When they make a move, you got to make a move. Or you got to make a move quicker than their move. If 10 years we are like folding our hand and waiting and watching what is happening, there will be 6, 7, 8 moves ahead. I compared China, I compared US. I intentionally comparing India now. 1940s what we were doing, we were under occupation. 1950 what we were doing, we were thinking whether planning commission model is right, whether the Russian model is right, whether the planning commission can help us. 1960 what we were doing politics of poverty. 1970 democracy problem. Just imagine where we were when both the countries were tussling, both the countries were trying to create their place in the world. Now, this is an opportunity India cannot afford to miss. When so many things are happening around us, that is why in yesterday's statement, in the White House press conference, when a pointed question was asked to Mr. Trump, our Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji might have problems with what is happening in Bangladesh. A regime change, which is not to our liking because the whole thing happened anti-democratically. Toppling, making anti-India slogans, going after minority communities in Bangladesh who are Hindus, temples getting attacked, vandalized, buildings getting burned. When somebody asked Mr. Trump, what do you think about Bangladesh? Mr. Trump said, look, that is not my problem. That is Modi ji's problem, he will take care. That's a very significant statement coming from a world leader. Because when we are looking at how carefully the global powers are fighting across India's border, what Mr. Trump said yesterday is a very, very significant statement. He said, that is not my problem, that is Modi ji's problem. So you are seeing a very careful calibration of US strategy because like how every country is playing, we are also playing. We are telling the world, look, we are 140 billion and we are growing so fast and we are 4 trillion. This year alone in our budget, we are investing 15 lakh crore rupee for investments alone. 15 lakh crore rupee. For your kind information, if I'm taking an era, no politics here, just for comparison purpose. 13-14 budget, we have invested 1 lakh crore into India's infrastructure. 10 years later, we are putting 15 lakh crore in this budget alone to create infra. Because we know when we build roads, when we build ports, we are still not, Modi ji is still not done. When he took over in 2014, we had 73 airports. 73. 2025, we are having 158 airports. Modi ji in France said, just few days back, he said, I am not done. We will add another 120 airports. So India's airport is going to jump to 278 by the end of 2030-2032 period. So this is needed because we are telling the world, don't take us lightly. We are earning money, middle class is working hard, corporates are earning money, Reliance Industries, we can abuse them, we can say, oh, big monopoly, this conglomerate, this. How many of you have seen Reliance Industries this year, they paid a net tax of 1,86,000 crore, which is 4% of India's budget. One single company in India, it paid 4% of India's budget. Reliance in the last 10 years have paid 11 lakh crore for India. We can comment, we can say this company is bad, that company is bad. A company in India has gone to that size and scale. It is funding 4% of India's budget. To put things in perspective, India's tax base now, number of people who pay tax, 7.9 crore. The number of people who are paying tax in 2014, 3.45 crore, which means we have added 4.45 crore tax people in the last 10 years. In the budget, when the government said up to 12 lakh rupee no tax means 6.9 crore people will not pay tax. The tax base is 7.9 crore. Straight away we are saying 6.9 crore people will not pay tax. 1 crore people are above 12 lakh, they'll pay tax. So what is the loss to the government? The loss to the government is 1,10,000 crore. What is Reliance contribution to India's taxation system? 1,86,000 crore. So these are all signs how US is having a Walmart, how US is having a Starbucks. Because great nations are great because they have great companies. Germany is great because you have 10 companies in the world that dominates for excellence, quality and precision engineering. Americans are great because they have 100 companies in the world, from ExxonMobil, Standard Oil. You take all the big corporations, Intel, NVIDIA, Tesla. So nobody in US talks, I should not have a big company. Why is there a big company? Please divide that big company. It is becoming a corporate-oriented company. Because big companies, they observe economic shocks. Big companies generate employment. Now we are also entering the territory to say, we also have companies that will dominate the world. They will cross boundaries, enter into your nations, invest money, generate employment there. Many of you might know, Indian companies, we have generated the largest employment for Englishmen in UK last year. I'm again repeating this statement to you. Indian companies, we have generated the largest English employment in UK last year. This is an era when the trading companies were able to come here. They're able to rip us apart just few hundred years back. Because thanks to Tata, who was able to make strategic acquisition, thanks to Mahindra, who are in a big way. So we got to generate, cultivate global brands. The next 50 years, when you look at Fortune 500, in geopolitics, it is very important. The global brands will play a role because they carry the country's soft power to all the foreign shows. I'm not going to stay there, sir. 1980. The number of Indian Americans, number of Indians who were in US, I'm not sure anybody who know the data, it is 2,08,000. 1980. 2000, 1 million, 10 லட்சம். 2025, 2.9 million, 29 லட்சம். All these people, they have left our country. It is not their mistake. The country did not have opportunity for them. We suffered from brain drain. The best of our lot, IITs, IIMs, any place, from villages, doctors, NHS po UK la paranga. 51% of people who work in the national health system of UK, they have an Indian origin there. Any doctor you see is India. From Kerala, Tamil Nadu mostly, Andhra. We dominate NHS. Last year, the number of students who went inside US, first time we go to China, Indians send largest number of students into US. Last 3 years, we are sending largest number of students into UK. Last 2 years, we are sending largest number of students into Australia. So geopolitics, they have done with petrols and dollars. We are doing with students. They are done with petrols, dollars and everything. Now, lakhs and millions of our students are there. Starbucks, there is an Indian student who carries our ethos, our value system, our Bharatiya value system. Though he is working as a part-time, but the way I order coffee, the way he gives me coffee, he or she, and the way he talks to me politely and nicely, there is somebody from our soil, far away in a distant land, even in a part-time job, he carries the Indian civilizational ethos in that company. That is why India's soft power, every place in the world we are growing and growing. Entrepreneurs, top people, community associations, students, anywhere we go. In Oxford, in a small city like Oxford in UK, one Tamil association called me, you should come. I said, I'm coming. Next day, one Tamil association said, you should come. I said, no, yesterday only you called, why are you calling today? No, we are a different Tamil association. Deepavali. So a small city in UK, Oxford, has got 3 Tamil associations. 3 Tamil associations in an England city. England city. So everywhere else in the world, our soft power is on the rise. People want to come to our country. Kumbh Mela. We have crossed 64 crore. 64 people have come to Kumbh Mela. They have taken Snan from Ganga Mata. They have offered their prayers. But how many of us know? Multiple crores they come from outside India. Multiple crores of people. They came to see what is Kumbh Mela. How a religious congregation is up. So in geopolitics, we are having our own strength. But we have to reach there. We have to invest in infra. Create opportunities for young people. Get them employed. Generate big companies in the country. They become our global icons. Travel across border. Invest money. Dominate the globe. So I am very, very confident. In the next 25 years, we are putting seeds now. Airports, ports, roads. I'll take 5-7 minutes to talk about geopolitics and defense. I think that is very important. As we do this, as a large amount of our budget is being spent for defense, like how US is spending $900 billion, China is $450 billion, we are also spending huge amount of money for defense because we are living in a geographical space where you have Pakistan to one side, you have China to one side. And any leader has to prepare this country for a two-pronged war. It should not happen. Whenever it happens, we should be ready. And it doesn't happen by chance. We are investing, searching the best technology in the world. We want a Rafale because it brings firepower in the sky. In France, we already have 6 Scorpion submarines from France. Now Modi ji wants 3 more. He said, give me 3 more. Underwater. In the recent Bangalore Aero India show when it was happening, the Russians have brought their Sukhoi 57. Sukhoi 57 is possibly one of the best planes in the world. They brought it. Many of you must have seen in the media. A 63-year-old Russian test pilot in Sukhoi was doing acrobatics at 63 years old. It was defying gravity. The plane was defying the laws of physics in the sky. So Russia says, please take my Sukhoi 57. Trump is offering Modi ji, please take my F-35. This is the most advanced 5th generation aircraft in the world. Take F-35. Russians have brought Sukhoi 57 here. In Bangalore skies it is going. At the same time, we want MQ-9 Reaper drones. As we speak now, we have purchased 30 drones. We need to keep our borders safe. We don't want any infiltration to come in and bleed 1,000 cuts, kill innocent people by terrorist activity. This Reaper drones, each drone is 250 crore. Flying at 50,000 feet, pick up an ant. That also we are doing. Modernizing our defense. Atmanirbhar Bharat, bringing the best defense into it. Offsetting, because we want to manufacture something after a point of time. So we have to carefully navigate, calibrate, keep every country in our good book, balance, trade deficit, trade relation, tariff. When Trump immediately sends people in Indian plane, one plane has landed in Amritsar, the second plane is about to land. We have to deal with that. We have 2.9 million, 29 lakh people in US. But we also have 7,50,000 undocumented migrants living in US. We also have to be careful of that. And Indians occupy some of the highest positions in the world. Highest position. Some of the highest positions in the world. Especially in US. Also we have undocumented migrants there. Carefully, without violating human rights, we got to balance that. And many go from Punjab, Haryana, from parts of India through the donkey route, pay lakhs and millions of rupees, sell their farmland, pledge their gold, take all their money, go through the donkey route, enter into Mexico, then enter into US port. That is also a pricking issue. Solve it. Solve our neighboring thing. You must have seen Adani pulling out of the solar energy deal in Sri Lanka, and that place happened to be very close to India's strategic border because China is operating there. So we got to take care of that. So I'm very, very confident, sir. People like you, very eminent people like you, in your discussion will bring geopolitics to a dinner table conversation. That is very important for our country. And we will have over a point of time to understand how geopolitics will influence me as a person. Either I live in Palakkad, I live in Coimbatore, or I live in a village. How anything that is happening in the world is going to affect us as a person. That is why I'm extremely delighted. The Rotary Conference, they wanted to talk about geopolitics, which I found very fascinating. A lot of people don't want to listen to geopolitics. A lot of people don't think geopolitics is relevant to them. And I personally believe for this eminent August gathering, it is very, very relevant. And before I close in the next 5 minutes, I want to leave a thought in your mind, in your head, so that you will mull over in the next week or so and see where India is, where we need to go. Now all of you have cell phone. We all have cell phone. And now it is Apple 16 Pro or 15 Pro. We are in that level now. Now we have to understand, when we talk about next 25 years position our country, it is positioning us in the next 10 years. Because the chip inside Apple is manufactured by one company in the world which is based in Hong Kong called TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company that manufactures all the top chips below 5 nanometer. They have overtaken Samsung, they have overtaken Intel, they are the chip masters of the world. These chips goes into everything in the world. Defense, missiles, electronic items, TVs, everything the chip will decide. One company in the world based in Taiwan, below 5 nanometer chips, it dominates 99%. That is one company. One company in the world, in Netherlands called ASML, one company manufactures machine that can manufacture the 5 nm chip. That is also one company in Netherlands. One company, one country. As we speak now, it is one NVIDIA till the China's DeepSeek R1 that was deciding artificial intelligence is in our hand. Nobody can even fight with us. California, top 50 artificial intelligence companies in the world, 32 are based only in California state. China is investing so much money to make sure artificial intelligence, they will come number 1 in the world 10 years from now. Now India, we have also got a chip mission, semiconductor mission, where we have allocated 76,000 crore to say, we also want to get into chips. We also want to manufacture 65 nanometer, 40 nanometer, 28 nanometer and sub. So please read the document. We are also very clear we want to enter that. It is in this geopolitics how artificial intelligence is coming, how it is going to dominate us, which country is going to dominate artificial intelligence, will be the dominant superpower in the world. But many of us don't know. Raw materials could be with China, ASML mission could be with Netherlands, chip manufacturing could be with Taiwan, but 20% of world's chip engineers are Indians. So that gives me a lot of hope. Of course, they are not in the country, they are living in different parts of the world. And that gives me confidence. Some of our brightest, best brains, at some point of time, when they decide to come back and serve our country in their own capacity, because every year we are growing, every day we are growing, when they come back, I am very confident in the future, we can also dominate chips. We will also dominate artificial intelligence. We will also dominate the space, whatever we have spoken. And I am 100% confident in the coming years, at least for our children, they will live in the tag called developed country. We never had the tag called developed country. The senior sitting here, you have given your life, hard work to grow this country. You have brought the country from there, you have almost brought the country here. But all of us together, we can make sure our children will stay in Bharat, which can be classified as a developed country. I think that's a realistic goal that is possible in technology, in infra, in quality of living. We all should aspire for it. With these few words and comments, I take the opportunity to thank all the eminent Rotarians who were kind enough to invite me and ask me to speak before this very august gathering. I thank the chairman of the conference once again, and the district governor sir once again, and Rotary International Representative Ramesh Agrawal sir has come. I take the opportunity to wish Ramesh Agrawal sir and Madam Manju Madam to see the best of Tamil Nadu and Kerala during their visit here, and all the awardees who are with us, Dr. Krishnan, Ravi Murugaya ji, and Rotarian Nitin Vijaya ji, all the very best in the coming years and decades. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.